Now that it's July, I think it's time we go over our mid-year wrap-up, mid-year book tag, mid-year, whatever you want to call it. Let's just talk about some of the books that made an impression on me and some of the stats for my reading journey for the first 6 months of 2026. I want to start by going over my stats for the first 6 months of 2026. I have read a total of 90 books. 49 of those books were audiobooks, and 41 were physical reads. Out of those physical reads, 3 of them were immersion reads. I purchased 70 books. Yeah, not great, but that's okay. And I read 51 books off of my physical TBR out of those 90. Let's go into some of the questions and some of my answers for them. I have a list here. I got some of these questions from other booktubers, and I'm going to tweak them a little bit because some of them just aren't applicable to me and my reading journey. But the first one says best book. That was simple. The best book I read in 2026 has been Native Son by Richard Wright. This book was written in 1940. It takes place in 1930 Chicago. It follows a Black man as he goes through life and gets a job to be a driver for this wealthy, rich white family. And that's all I'm going to say. My best advice is to go into this blind, but be mindful that just like real life, this book has very dark elements. But again, this book made me feel so much. I cried, I felt angry, I felt disappointed. This book made me feel every emotion. That's why this most likely will be my best book of 2026, but it is definitely my best book for the first 6 months of 2026. All right, so the next question is best sequel. Last year, I discovered A Requiem for Fallen Stars, and this is by Hazel S. Wilkes. This is a fantasy. It says here, Lyra does not clutch onto the jagged remnants of her past. She buries them deep beneath her skin. To feel is to give power to the past, to let grief and memory carve through her like a blade. But Lyra refuses to let them win. She will not let the sharpened words of men who call themselves nobles and kings cut deeper than they deserve. If they cannot wound her, they cannot control her. And if they cannot control her, then freedom is hers to claim, despite her feeling anything but free. But when an unexpected opportunity arises, Lyra is thrust into the deadly entrance exams of an elite academy, where only nobility thrive. But first, she must strike a blood wager with a capricious king, one that could win Lyra her freedom or cost her her life, if the exams don't kill her first. So again, this was my best fantasy of 2025. So needless to say, my best sequel is A Ballad for the Broken, and this is a book 2 in the series. I'm not going to go into this other than, yes, it's thick. Yes, it's well written, just like the first one was. And I cried so much reading this book. So yes, my best sequel of 2026 so far is going to be A Ballad for the Broken. All right, let's see. What is the next one? So my biggest disappointment, I don't even have these books anymore because I was so disappointed in them. I unhauled them. And that was The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I've read a few Kristen Hanna and absolutely loved them and was so excited. I got caught up in the hype. Everyone said this book was so great, and it was just boring. And it didn't follow the story I expected it to. It was a long book, and I will never get those hours back that I spent reading that book, and I'm sorely disappointed over it. Another disappointment was The Silent Patient. And wow, this wasn't a bad book. I just recently read it, so I'm not sure if it just lost its uniqueness over the years since its original release date, or if I missed something. I don't know, but there is so much hype. This is the greatest thriller, this twist, oh my. And now there's a movie adaptation being made of it. I don't get it. I was really disappointed in that. And the last one was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I've tried a couple Emily Henry books, and the only one I really liked was Funny Story. I know a lot of people compare Abby Jimenez to Emily Henry, and if I had to pick one, it'd be Abby Jimenez all day long. I much prefer her books. So again, Book Lovers, just another disappointment for me. One of my biggest surprises was how much I loved middle grade. I had never read a middle grade book until this year, and then I discovered it and fell in love. I don't know if it's because of the warm-hearted story or the simplicity or the innocence of it. Sometimes the real world is just a little tough and a little dark, and you need something to brighten it up. So some of my favorite middle grade books, in case you like middle grade or you have some young readers in your life, I want to go over them. The first one is The Academy, and this is a soccer series. Follows this middle school kid, Leo. He gets scouted in small town Ohio and is selected to go play in the Youth Premier League over in the UK, and it follows his adventures. There are 6 books out in the series currently. I know the author said there's more books to come in the series, but I have loved every single one, some more than others, but this is a really good story if you're interested in soccer. Another middle grade that I liked was Hidden Truths, and this is by Ellie Swartz. And this follows 2 kids. They're best friends. They're completely different, but they're best friends. A tragic accident occurs, and one of the friends gets hurt, and she blames the other friend for the accident. And you don't know until the very end of the book if it was his fault or if it wasn't, and if they're going to be friends again. This was really cute. The other I thought was really interesting. This is by Susan Nielsen. She had one of my favorite books, an adult novel, and this was her middle grade book, and it's called No Fixed Address. And it is about a homeless child. He lives in a van and all the challenges he faces as being a unhoused child. And the last one, I know I talked about before, but Saving Celeste. Again, this is more of a climate change book, focuses on, how we're destroying the planet. And it's really cute. Again, it's really short, probably the shortest of the middle grade books, but I really liked it. If you guys hear the dog barking, I apologize. I couldn't get them to calm down, so I put them outside for a little bit, and now they're still barking and playing outside. So just kind of ignore that if you can. A new favorite author. So I really love Wendy Dalrymple, and one of her books, Bedrot Baby, this was one of her books that came out this year. Her latest book is called Killer Summer, and that's a 90s slasher, and all her books are so good. She's part of the pink horror genre. Basically, it's feel good, good for her, slasher. Just this is really cool. This is almost like a spin on Dorian Gray, and this lady, she literally starts rotting, and that's what you see, the pieces of her body on here, because she's literally rotting and falling apart. But she has become one of my favorite authors. She wrote Credenza, she wrote Pageant. Pageant was a runner-up for one of my best books of the year. That was so good. Check her out. I absolutely love her horror books. They're all 200 pages, give or take a few. Fun, easy read, really good time. Book that made you cry. Okay, so I read Taming Seven, Chloe Walsh. This is book 5 in the Boys to Tommen series. This is Gibbs's story. And I remember listening to the audiobook of this while I was doing dishes. And I had to stop because I was crying so hard. I was so shocked when the revelation came towards the end, and then I just cried for Gibbsy. You would have thought that this was someone that I knew and they just confessed their childhood trauma to me the way I sobbed over this. So Chloe Walsh gets me every time, always makes me cry, but this book particularly hit me hard. The other book that made me cry, this comes out on July 7th. It is called Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt. And this is by Ben Reeves. This is his debut. I received an ARC through NetGalley and sobbed my way through the book and immediately went out. I went to my local bookstore and I said, hey, I know sometimes you put books out before they are actual release date. Do you have this book? And they had it, and I immediately picked it up. And essentially, this follows death. It says Travis's death in the modern world. He lives with his cat in a small gray town. His job to offer people comfort in their final hours of life, which he does without complaint or judgment. He's stoic, he is gentle, and a little naive despite who he is. But he never tries to change anyone's fate. He is responsible for maintaining the balance of nature, and everything must eventually end. That's all I'm going to tell you. I don't want to tell you anymore. Just know that Death is the main character. He goes by the name Travis. You follow him throughout this book, and I promise you, you will cry. You will cry in the first 2 chapters of this book. It is just devastating. So I know that sounds horrible. I'm like, oh, it's devastating. You'll cry. Pick it up. It's great. But it's really, really good book. And for a debut, it's absolutely incredible. So again, this would be my other book that made me cry. And I'm talking ugly cry. So the other was like your most beautiful book cover. I don't have a beautiful book cover, but this copy of Lord of the Flies that I got, I just think this is incredible. And this is part of the Penguin Classes Deluxe Edition. And it has that on the back, and the little French flaps have images on them. And this is, if you've never read this book, then I'm not sure how you missed it in school unless it wasn't part of your reading program. I originally read this in school and absolutely loved it. And I am excited to own this copy and to read it again as an adult, because I was probably 16, 17 the last time I read this book. And I'm curious to see how it impacts me as an adult versus a teenager. But this is my most unique book cover, I would say. Other than that, I want to go over some of my favorite books that I've read this year. And for sci-fi, dystopian, whatever you want to call it, this is The Things We Would Bear by Rachel Moore. I did a YouTube short on this because I was so in love with this book. I'm actually getting ready to go see the author in a few weeks, so I'm so excited to meet her and hopefully get her to sign my art copy. This follows 4 different characters, and they all have a part in this overlapping story, and then they meet, and it's found family, it's dystopian. And this is book 1 in a trilogy. Again, this was probably my favorite sci-fi, fantasy, dystopian. I'm not sure. I just absolutely love this book. Another book that I really loved was The Obsession by Natasha Preston. And so her books, I usually like most of them. There's been 1 or 2 that haven't been like huge hits with me, but they're always well written. They're always fast paced. They're YA thrillers. And this one was really good. This one says, Connie never asked to be famous, but thanks to her mother's relentless vlogging, she and her sister have spent their lives under a virtual microscope. Every smile, every moment curated for clicks. Every stranger online thinking they know them. Then local girls start dying, one by one. The bodies start to pile up and the spotlight turns sinister. Connie is forced to confront the terrifying truth. Someone isn't just watching, they're planning. I love a good influencer getting murdered book. I know that sounds terrible, but I love influencer books, and when it just, things aren't going well for them because there's normally some manipulative scheming thing going on that they are trying not to get you to know about. But either way, love this book, and the ending of this book, oh my God, this is probably going to be like the best twist of 2026. This was excellent. So again, this one is highly recommended. Another thriller I liked, and I know I've talked about before, but that is Pigeon Blood Red by Ed Duncan. This was sent to me from the author, and I absolutely loved it. This stars Rico. He's this like underworld kind of hitman investigator guy, and It follows him, and it goes, he's looking for this person that stole this pigeon blood red ruby necklace. And it follows him from Chicago to Hawaii and back, and really, really good. I have not read the other 2 books yet. They're on my TBR, but this was really good if you're looking for a short thriller. This may be on KU, I'm not 100%, but definitely worth checking out. And my favorite, well, one of my favorite romances this year was The Wildest Dreams Bookshop by Gracie Page. This is YA. I found myself just loving YA romances, as long as they're not too YA, if that makes sense. And this says, Anna's summer is not off to a good start. For one thing, her final exams were such a disaster. She's sure her plans for the fall are ruined. Just as distressing, her boyfriend hasn't texted her back since leaving for Paris. So when Anna's aunt invites her to come work and live at her seaside bookshop for the summer, she packs her bags. After all, in Fox Bay, no one knows her life is a mess. Anna can hide out and plot her next move without any distractions. And then the bookstore, comes in financial trouble, and there's a boy she meets, and this is just a really sweet, good seaside, small town romance. Some of the books that I am excited to read that are on my physical TBR that I bought this year, most of them are fantasy, because I buy them with so excited to read them, and then I get intimidated and don't. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I have Daggermouth. I have the indie copy. I know that 99% of the world has read this and absolutely loved it, so I'm not even going to tell you what it's about, but this is one that's on my TBR that I'm looking forward to. Another one, if you guessed it, is Direbound. Yes, the sequel's out. Yes, I still haven't read the first book. Again, everybody else has, so I'm not going to tell you what this one's about. And then one I haven't heard too much about, Queen of Faces, and this is by Petra Lord. It has a map. It has beautiful gold foiling on the cover. This is just the regular version. I found it actually at TJ Maxx of all places, but I saw an interview with the author. The author is trans, and I saw the author on Good Morning America, the Today Show, one of those, talking about this book and talking about their experiences and writing it, and I just was so intrigued. I went out and grabbed a copy and still haven't read it. So, no need to judge me, because I'm judging myself pretty hard for that. But the other books I'm looking forward to, I've never heard anyone talk about this. I stumbled across it on KU, and you can see it's pretty thick. I was not able to finish it before my KU subscription ran out, so I was able to pick up a used copy. It's called The Consequence of Anna by Kate Birkin and Mark Bournes. And it says, the saga of 2 women, one driven by passion to do the unthinkable, the other plunging into insanity, and a man bound between them, inspired by a true story. This takes place in 1930s Australia. It's 2 cousins, and it just, the first, 100 or so pages that I read, it was such a wild story. I knew that I wanted to finish it and see how it turned out. But yes, this is the other one that I'm really interested in. And the last one, I just recently picked this up based on somebody's recommendation I saw on YouTube and thought it sounded really good. Indie author, wanted to support her. So I got a copy of Millie Belizaire's Fast. And this says, after the untimely death of her mother, Caprice Lattimore has to move in with her grandmother. At 8 years old, life as she knows it is turned upside down. The trauma of losing her mother is made worse by the introduction of Marcel, her grandmother's adult son, who still lives in the home. Fast is a standalone that spans 20 years. Separated into 3 acts, we watch Caprice go from 8 years old to 16 to 28. She gets hurt, she falls in love, she grows, and she just might overcome. Fast is a story written about victims who were made to feel like their abuse was their own fault. So I'm really looking forward to this. Definitely want to make sure I'm in the right headspace when I go into this, because I imagine it's going to be a pretty rough read, but this is the other one I'm really excited for. So guys, I know that was a bit chaotic and not all the questions are the same that everybody else was doing, but I really appreciate you watching, and I'm really curious to know what are some of your favorite reads that you've read so far in 2026. And let me know if there's any upcoming releases that you're really excited for. I have not been paying too much attention to what's coming up, so I'm definitely looking for recommendations from you guys. Again, thanks for watching.